to be on a network TV show, not a streamer, a network TV show that has a reach like that touches people, that people seem to delight in. And I'm turning 58 next month. I'm not a kid. I'll do it as long as we all feel like we can make it, and as long as CBS wants to have us.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Carrie Preston is an actor. She sat down with me on the Upper West Side of Manhattan to talk about the work.
Do you have a typical way that you like to begin your preparation process when you get a new character?
Mm-hmm. You know, I study classical theater, right? And I was a theater baby to begin with. So what's on the page is the gospel, even if it's somebody wrote it yesterday. I really like to, dive into the work on the page. Mm-hmm. So I do like I read it for sense, first, like as a fan. Mm-hmm. I read it and I go, oh, wow, I felt this or I felt that. I just let myself not make a judgment about the character or anything. I just try to get the story and where the character might fit in that story. Yeah. And then I start breaking it down, first instincts. And I will write it out.
Right on the page.
Yeah, I'll write it out. Thoughts, first instincts of things like she needs to be loved, or trying for something, or some image will come up, I'll write it down. That gets my kind of subconscious going, I guess, and then I go, all right, now I'm gonna dig deeper, because those are the easy choices. Yeah. Right. Yep. And then, okay, so
because they're coming fast.
They're coming fast, and they haven't really been explored, or they don't maybe make sense, or they're obvious. Okay, the script says she has to cry here. Does she? Why? Yeah. Like, what's that? That's a result, and so what would be a more interesting choice than that? Mm-hmm. What's the opposite of that, or whatever it is, and then I start mapping it out that way. And then once I've done table work with myself, and sometimes I do that with other people.
And what is that like with other people? Are you just hearing other people's thoughts about their characters, or thoughts about your character too?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on. If it's a film, you don't usually have the benefit of working with anyone else. Yeah. Or a TV show, really. But if it's a play, obviously, you're going to do all that table work with everybody else. Right. And that's a whole nother wonderful way to explore things. I haven't done a play in a long time. I've directed some theater, but I haven't been in a play in a long time. Mostly I'm doing this. But I apply the same things that I did as a theater actor to the film and TV work, because I find it to be the same. The show that I'm on now, Elsbeth, I just did 20 episodes, and it's all shot. You shoot the episode numbers in order, but you don't, obviously shoot the script itself in order, right? So you're doing the last scene first, and you're doing all this stuff, and you're doing an entire episode in 8 days or 9, and so I found, for me, because I have to carry the show, this was a new thing. Yeah. And I thought, okay, I want to be able to do this and work in a different way. So I have a friend who's a director and a coach, and she mostly directs, plays. And we went to acting school together. So I've known her, we went to college, together. So I've known her forever. And so I was like, well, let me hire her just to go through the script top to bottom before I start shooting.
And what did you think you needed?
2 hours.
What did you think you needed from her? Like,
I needed the big picture. Because it's going to be broken down into all these little tiny bits.
Right.
And I just wanted to bounce the big picture off of someone who knows the character and understands dramaturgy and just go through the script. She's also, she studied acting. She doesn't do it anymore. So she's reading all the other parts. And we're doing it on Zoom. It's not even like, anything in person. But it was a helpful tool for me because then I would get excited about the whole script and building the arc of that episode, and then I would have to break it up into the million pieces and cram 50 pages of dialogue in my head as quickly as possible. But I had the big picture.
Yes.
And then she would just not direct me so much as just like ask questions. What's going on here in this moment? Remember in 3 episodes ago when she said blah, blah, blah? Or even more helpful, we would find whatever like little indiscrepancies there might be in the script because the script has gone through many, gatekeepers. And sometimes things get lost along the way. So I will say, I don't understand. This is a show where a woman is solving mysteries, right? And murder stuff. And so detail is very important.
Yes.
And like sometimes details get left out inadvertently. And I could go to the showrunner and say, I don't understand. There's something missing here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a ghost from a previous draft. Ooh. Well, I wouldn't know that. I didn't see another draft.
And you may not have even pulled that out if you weren't doing that kind of combing with that woman, right?
Yes, exactly.
You may have found it on set.
We find it on set and it's a little too late, or but being able to go and point those little things out, and it's not much. We have great writers, but just little things like, or help me understand how I get from A to Z so easily. Yeah. And just to know the questions that I need to ask.
Yes.
Of the writers.
Yes.
And so anyway, I do all that stuff, and then like on Elsbeth, it's just about making, my character is, her brain works differently than the rest of the kids. So there's a certain kind of rhythm to how she is in the world and how she phrases things and what she does off the line is just as important as to what she does on the line. And that's just what we've built over the 15 years of me playing this role.
Right. I remember I heard you say that when you saw the word pause initially. Yeah. It was a big clue in. Yeah. To this person.
Yeah. Because what's going on there?
What's going on in the pause?
Why is there? Yeah. And this is just something that I'm sure the writer didn't think about nearly as much as I did.
No, but it is important.
But instinctually, the writer was like,
the instinct,
we need to see, there's something, this person is different.
Right.
In the way she is.
Because if there's other characters around and there's no pausing, and then suddenly there's this character. And I'm talking, and we're talking about back in the Good Wife days, because when it was just a supporting character that comes on every once in a while. Yeah. So that's why it was even a bigger kind of flag for you, right? Yeah. Because that word.
Yeah, that word, and it certainly wasn't what the other characters were doing, right. And also, who knew if they were going to keep the pause in the edit? Right. Most pauses in television go. Yeah. For time. Yeah. You can do all kinds of things in between lines, and they will get rid of it for plot.
You're reminding me of, I don't think he said it on my show, but he said it on another show, Vincent D'Onofrio, about the pause that he developed for his character and how it was freaking everyone out. Yeah. And then they were walking down the street one day, and a fan came up to them. He happened to be with Dick Wolf. And the woman told the story in front of Dick Wolf. Okay. Saying that she calls her husband into the room and says, "Harold, he's pausing again." And that moment in front of Dick Wolf made the worry go away for him.
Right.
And it became a thing.
Right.
Because he's like, wait, maybe the audience does love this little pause moment,
Yeah.
little inch, like
Just
it's
something.
And it's almost like that, right? Because this is it's like an idiosyncrasy of this character.
Yeah.
And people who are a little bit worried about these kind of things, showrunners and stuff,
Yeah.
might be like, wait, why are you doing that?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Why are you doing that? Come on, pick up the pace. Pick up the
But
pace.
they were already entering that in and creating kind of pushing you in a way toward that character. And you're smart enough to be like, all right, this is leading me toward this idiosyncrasy of this woman, and it helps you build. But I'm sure that they must have then built off what you built.
Yes, they did.
Right?
They did.
And was that even going on in the good wife days?
Yeah.
And the good fight days?
Yeah, because I mean, if you go back, and I don't really relish rewatching my work. It's strange, 15 years ago, I had 2 bodies of cells worth of time ago. It's almost like watching a ghost of yourself or something, or your kid sister or something like that. It's very disconcerting. However, before I started working on the series, I thought I know what happened. They put the trailer on YouTube for Elsbeth. So when it came out, I looked at the trailer for Elsbeth. So exciting.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't believe, I'm on this show that's based on this character that I played 15 years ago. And then the next video that played was Carrie Preston's first appearance on The Good Wife. And I was like, oh God, do I want to watch this? And there it was. And it was fascinating because I don't remember much about the actual words or the storyline or anything like that. I remember the experience, but I don't remember specifically. So it was all the scenes cut together into this one.
Did you watch it all?
Well, it's like condensed down into, she was just a supporting gal, that they needed to bring on to get Peter Florrick out of jail.
Yeah.
And you could see that I was trying to figure out how far can I go here?
Yeah.
I needed to honor what was being asked. I was, a known actor, but nothing, it wasn't like I was a name actor. It's arguable whether or not I am even that now. And so, I didn't want to push too hard. I didn't want to go too big, but I'm an actor that definitely makes a big choice because I just find that that's the kind of acting I like to watch. And that's the sort of actor that I was taught to be. And, it's way more interesting than watching somebody do absolutely nothing.
Right.
I find that boring.
Right.
As an audience.
Right.
And so and the actors that I admire don't do that. So, I was like, okay. But you could tell that I was just putting my foot in the water and testing it to see how can I do this? But I knew that this was a character that was going to walk in the room and start talking and then get distracted by the bookshelf and then come back. And wow, what a great gift that is.
Yeah.
For somebody to write that on a page and trust an actor to do it.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't until season 3 when I came back and did like a 3 or 4 episode arc that we really started to let that happen. So much so that a couple of episodes I'd already been on the air and people had responded to the character. And one of the directors came up and said, I don't know, I just feel like I need a little more of the Tascioni. And I was like, the Tascioni?
It's like
I was like, okay, I think he wants me to be a little quirkier, and like lean into the pauses and the things and the, the stuff that I started to lay in there.
Yeah. Well, because it's also like those shows aren't comedies.
No, but they do have a lot. They do layer in light, a lot of.
But this, when it finally went to its own show, right? And just the way the show opens as a pilot, like it's much more laugh centric in a way, right? And so, but I'm just saying this as like, of course you're going to be like just dipping your toe in because you want to match the tone of the show too. Yeah. Even though this character is eccentric and written that way, but then you're like, but do I want to go full hog on this with this kind of tone?
Yeah, I know. It was a risk. It was a risky move, but I also realized that a lot of, having been a fan of The Good Wife, that a lot of the guest stars that they would bring on, those characters,
they had their own.
Did function in that way. Some of the judges were and they the Robert and Michelle King, who created that show and were the showrunners, they deliberately did that. They don't want the lawyer of the week. They don't want the mom of the day or whatever. They want something interesting. They want individuals, and they write them as such. And I just got lucky, and the one that they wrote for me just kind of lined up in a way that was appealing to, the audience, and then they would, bring her on when they needed that levity sprinkled in there. Yeah.
And what was it like to transition to carrying the show? Is there any other things that you had to think about? Even though you had the character down, you know what I mean? But now suddenly you're going to be the number one on the call sheet here. And you've never were number one on the call sheet. Was that a learning curve about how to deal with that kind of pressure or anything? Because I mean, like, you're in so many of the scenes, or except for the beginning of every show. Yeah. Just those first little things where the murder happens. Then everything is you.
Everything is, I think I'm not a kid. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been a supporting player happily for decades. I've played leads in movies. I've played, all kinds of wonderful characters along the way. And so I've had the benefit of learning from people, what to do and what not to do, and squirreling that away, oh gosh, when I get to be number one on a TV show, if that ever happens, I'm going to steal that, or I'm definitely not going to do that. And, setting my priorities and trying to live up to them, so the main concern as far as the acting for me was, are we going to want to watch this character the whole episode? Because she's so used to being the flavor, not the full meal deal. Like, she's so used to being the spice, And do we want that spice all the time? And so I said to Robert King, who directed the pilot as well as wrote it, keep an eye on me. Make sure that I don't go too far, because I have fun, right? And I'll take a big swing, and I wanted to make sure it was calibrated and that it was grounded. And when you're doing a pilot, you have way more time. I had the script a month ahead of time or something, so I was able to really dig in, and so that when I showed up to do it, it was really a joyous experience, because I didn't know if I would ever get to play this character again. I thought this might be the last time, because pilots don't.
Right, most of them don't.
Most of them don't go, and I've done a lot of pilots that never went to series, lots, and so this could have been that. So I really embraced it in a kind of carpe diem, or this is. It's go big or go home, you know? Enjoy every moment of this experience that is a miracle. That I got to do that.
That's amazing.
I mean, our last day of shooting, we were kind of reduced down to just a B unit. It was a small unit because we were going on the top of a double-decker tour bus. And Elsbeth is, on this tour of NYC. And it was a small crew. It was just the camera up there, me, another actor, and Robert. And
that was the first scene then. So you shot it. You shot it first.
But we shot it last.
I shot it last.
Yeah. But it was the first time you see her, and the joy that I'm experiencing, it was real. That there I am driving around New York City, where I've lived since 1990, seeing it from a perspective I've never seen it. I don't do tour buses. I live here, So being up high that level, but also seeing it through Elsbeth's eyes, and then we were stuck in some traffic. This is New York. We were sitting in Times Square, and I hear down on the street below, "Is that her? Is that her? Is that her?" And I look, I'm like, it can't be talking about me, you know. I look down, and they go, it is Elsbeth.
Whoa.
And this was before they had even said that the name of the show was going to be Elsbeth.
Yeah.
And I looked at the camera guys, and I was like, was that a good omen? And they were like, that's a good omen.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And see, I mean, so it just also shows you how these kings are not dumb, right? They knew this character
they're
who was
so
going
on top
to be, you know, catch on as his own thing.
Yeah.
Because they knew how popular it was during this time.
Yeah, but it was just it had to be, you know, they couldn't have done it when they did The Good Fight. It wasn't the time for it.
Right, right.
Now
Has there ever been
is the
2
time for it.
spin-offs of a show? 2?
I mean, there has to be, right? Frasier,
Nothing's
Cheers, and Frasier, and then the second Frasier, maybe. Does that count?
Does that count?
Does that count?
This is a good question.
Yeah,
I wonder.
I think there
Archie's Place.
there have been. Isn't Mary Tyler Moore? Didn't she spin off?
Rona.
And
And
Mary Tyler Moore, Rhoda, Maud.
Oh, maybe Maud was?
Yeah, didn't Maud come from that? Anyway,
We could spend all day trying to figure
yes, there is a precedent, but it is, you know, it is a rare world that I happen to.
I'm just
be
happy
lucky enough
that
to be in.
because I love the King's work. Like I love Evil. I just want them to always be in like whatever ideas they have. I want them to be given a chance all the time.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and it seems like they have that.
Yeah.
Or at least they have a place at the table.
Yeah.
But are there things that, for instance, they gave you in Juilliard that you are still using to this day to get to where you need to get with a character like Elsbeth? Are you still employing those tools?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I you know, the script analysis that you get when you're at Juilliard or really great training program is invaluable. I mean, you don't, like I said earlier, take your first pass and just run with that.
Yeah.
It's so much more interesting to dig deeper and deeper and deeper. And I spend as much time as I can, quote unquote, rehearsing. Even when I don't have that much time, I devote as much time as I can to the script and to working with what is on the page, so that when I get to set, I can forget it all and let the choices happen. But you learn how to make choices when you're doing a training program.
Yeah.
And then you get to the point where you can forget all that.
Yeah.
And let it happen to you.
Yeah.
And that's when it's exciting.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because
Comes
if
alive.
you go in, have it all ready to go,
Yeah.
and this is what I'm going to do,
Right.
it's fine, but it's not, it's technical or whatever,
Yeah.
but it's not present. You're not present with what is coming your way,
Right.
either from inside of you or from the other person or from the director.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the most exciting thing, is when you're so profoundly prepared that you can
Let it go.
let things happen.
Yeah.
And then that's what the audience wants, right?
Yeah.
They want to see you having an authentic moment.
Exactly. And they want to see you alive.
They want to see you alive, yeah. But I would argue that you have to have all that training in order to do that. Because you have to be able to repeat it.
Right.
And let fresh
Right.
things keep happening to you. And, you know, there are a lot of untrained actors that I've worked with over the years, and they have a harder time sustaining it.
Yes.
Or their career is a flash in the pan. They don't have that longevity that you get from
They
having
might get there
a lot
on-
of tools in your toolbox.
Yes. They might get there on one take, and then that's the one they use, and that's
Right.
great, and that they get
Right.
lucky like that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Which, you know, happens a lot with child actors.
Yeah.
And that's why I always like, you're going to give a child an Academy Award? Because that performance was lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
That was many things went into it.
Editor should have half of that.
Editors, directors, you know, and sure,
Yeah.
kids naturally talented or whatever, but,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
if you're talking about the craft,
Yeah.
they don't have that yet. They just are going on instinct.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you, for a show like this, it's a unique experience, not unique, but I think it's different than maybe other people on other shows that go on multiple seasons. You have to work intimately with guest stars every time.
Yeah.
What is that like to have to almost recalibrate for each guest star that comes on?
Yeah, you do. You
And
have-
is that
Yeah.
a challenge, or do you relish that?
I love it. I love it. Well, I love actors, you know. I'm also a director. I also know what it feels like to be a guest player. I know that because I've done so much of it. And I know what it feels like to walk into the unknown of a set and have to adjust to whatever the tone of that set is really, really quickly. And, you know, I know what it's like to walk on a set that might be feeling kind of toxic. I don't want that. I go way out of my way, and everyone on our show does. John Toland's our showrunner, to make people feel welcome so that they can do their best work. You know, I give everybody a tote bag, you know, with a note.
Oh, that's nice.
Or I'll call, or I'll text, or I'll email, just to welcome them.
Yeah.
You know, swing by their dressing room on their first day, even if I don't have a scene with them, to welcome them. You know, to do everything I can, go out of my way when I walk in the hair and makeup trailer. My chair is in the middle of everything. I don't set myself apart, because I want everybody to
That
feel
all
like
matters,
we're in
yeah.
an ensemble here.
Yep.
We're all together making this thing work.
Yes.
You know? And in the case of Elsbeth, I'm working with like some of my acting heroes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's the fangirling of it all too.
Yeah.
Which, you know, let them know how much you worship them
Yeah.
and how much their work means to you.
Yeah.
Say it, you know,
Yeah.
and I always try to make sure that they understand how grateful I am that they want to come and take time out of their busy careers
Yeah.
to do a guest spot on a CBS procedural.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great roles.
Yes.
John and the writers write great roles for them, and they make sure that it's like a throwback to Columbo.
I was just going to say, it's like Columbo. Like, I
Yeah.
just watched the Jenna Rollins
Yeah.
Columbo
Yeah.
like all the time.
Yeah. Just
Because of her. You know?
Because she's doing great
Yeah.
work, and she came in and, you know, did that in
Yeah.
a finite amount of time.
Yeah. Joseph Cotton. Like, come on.
Yeah. There's, you know, nonstop.
Yeah.
And so I love that. And I love seeing how people work. You know, I want to
Yeah.
like learn from
Yeah.
people. When Tracy Ullman came on the show, I'm a huge,
Yeah.
since the beginning of time,
Yep.
Tracy Ullman fan.
Yep.
Couldn't believe that we
Yeah.
were going to get
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
And, you know, lovely. What a lovely, generous person. And she came in there. I mean, I'm talking about a full wig that she brought, lace front. I mean, I'm talking about brown contact lenses because she wanted the character to have deep, soulful eyes. I mean, a bridge, fake teeth,
Wow.
this woman.
Wow.
Okay? This is cool.
Went all out. Yeah.
This is cool. Like, I got to see that, and I'm not going to feel weird next time I want to walk onto a set
Yeah.
with a bag of tricks. Because
Yeah.
that's just how she works from the outside in, you know, and just to watch that and the accent, you know, that she did on the show. So specific.
Yeah.
And it ended up, you know, it is a story point, but she knew exactly what she wanted to do with it. But at the same time was totally playful with it. There was nothing set in stone. Worked really well with the director and the rest of us. love that, to be
Yeah.
able to see that.
Yeah.
And to see a hero of mine come in there and show me why she is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's so
what a
cool.
gift.
Yep.
You know?
That's cool.
And also, though, as actors on a show like this, where you have 20 episodes, you're also working with new directors or different directors each time.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you too, because
Yeah.
now that you've directed, you directed a bunch of things, including, not just like a play but TV show episodes.
Yeah.
So the role and what makes a good director, particularly for television. So do you have any say in, at this point, like who comes on as a director for this show?
A little bit now that we're going into season 3. I like to think, and I certainly endeavor to be someone who can work with any director.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are just some that kind of fit a little bit more in what we're trying to do with the show.
Right.
And
you've gotten kind of an idea of that after 2 seasons.
yeah, you have. Yeah, you do. And we've used a lot of different directors. The producers, like to work with people that they've worked with before, but they also try out new people, and they're, they're really, they try to keep it pretty diverse. I just, as a director, I'm sort of the same as an actor. I like to just over prepare so that I can forget it when everything goes out the window.
Right.
It does.
Yeah, because you need to adjust. Yeah.
Because you do.
Yeah.
You have to. Like, your shot list, if you actually do it,
It'd be a
top to
miracle.
bottom, it's miraculous.
Yeah.
But you better have one, at least in my
Right.
opinion.
Right.
And, I like to work with directors who, when I walk into a room, a set that I haven't been on, it makes me uncomfortable when they say to me, just do whatever you want.
Ooh.
I want you to feel free to do what you want to do as the character, etc. And my answer is always, I want to do what you have planned. I want us to efficiently get through this. And if it doesn't work, great, let's talk it through. But I want to try what you have in mind first. You've seen this space. You know how you're going to shoot it.
Right.
Tell me.
Right.
And I will then suggest things that might help or whatever. But I'm constantly turning to the director and the DP and saying, if I move over here, am I going to cost us? How much time am I going to cost us? Because I can make it work over here, and they always want to say, oh no, we'll do whatever you want. But I know as a director, if I'm starting a whole new axis of shooting, then that's a whole new relight, and that's a whole thing, and we might not get. And I don't want you to not make your day.
Yeah.
I really want us all
Yeah.
to make our day as a team.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like that, and I take pride in that, and I, really strive to do that. And sometimes it's clear that the director really does just want me to do, and then I have to put on my director hat a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's not as fun.
Interesting. Interesting. But even does this go even for like somebody that would be bold enough to direct you as Elsbeth in terms of acting? Like who on earth at this point would have the guts to actually try and adjust your performance of this character?
I love it. I want it. I want the direction.
Yeah, I guess I don't even know why that's such a weird question, because it's a director. But I guess
I want it because I want you to get me to do something that I haven't thought of yet,
Yeah.
To keep it fresh, or do something fun with it, or just to keep me going.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I love it when a director goes, okay, we got that. Now let's try it this way.
Yeah.
Something totally different.
Yeah.
Great. Then I want to go do that thing. But if they want me just to repeat the performance for 5 different camera sizes,
Oh, yeah.
then I get real,
Yeah.
I get a little bored with that.
Has anybody ever wanted you to do something though, and you said, that's not what she would do?
I try not to do that. I try to go, okay,
That's good.
I want to try. Well, try it. And then we'll try it and it'll work or it won't. or it'll be something interesting.
You got to trust them enough that if it sucks, they're not going to use it.
Yeah, and there's a couple of times, yes, where I go, I'm not sure that's going to work.
Yeah.
But I know as a director, I like to come in and give people, I love to work with actors and give them things to think about.
Yeah.
And it's a bummer when an actor goes, no.
Yeah.
Because it's like, really? You don't even want to try it? Okay. And I can't make them.
Yeah.
You certainly can't.
Yeah.
And, I wouldn't want to try to force it, but it's sort of like, really? You don't want to try, because I've been thinking about this for, I've been really thinking about this as a director. Like, I think this could be really interesting. Mm-hmm. But I'm not saying it's right.
Yep.
And I'm always the first to say, boy, that was bad.
Yeah,
that was a wrong idea. Go back to what you were doing.
Don't you think that this is, people who are trained in the theater have this, right? Mm-hmm. And don't you think that, like, you get a lot of people worrying that haven't ever dove deep into rehearsal, because that's where you try things and they fail, and who cares?
Yeah.
You move on, and you know that.
Yeah.
And you trust the director too, and you want to be directed just like because of that training too.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. But is there something, either on the stage or in front of the camera, that you always wanted to do and are hoping to do?
Well, this was like the secret dream, that I didn't really want to say out loud because it was awfully presumptuous, to think, oh, I want to be the lead of a TV show, And I worried at times that it sounded, like some ego thing. I really thought, I think I would be good at it. I think I would be a good leader.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Based on all the stuff that I've done in the past and the things that I've had the benefit of watching. So I do feel like I want to make sure that I take good care of it, because it is something that I've, aspired to for a long time. I do want to get back on stage. It's been a long time. I had that's all I did for the longest time. Mm-hmm. And I loved it. And then it started to break my heart. Mm. And then I started to kind of have a love-hate relationship with it. And
you said something about the audience that you didn't. The audience coming in.
The audience became like judges in my mind.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's not good.
Right.
And I hated the relationship that, especially in New York, that the audiences had with the critics. Like, if the critics told them it wasn't good, they were like, it's not good.
Yeah.
And they just were like lemmings. And I hated that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That a couple of people who were endowed by the New York Times or whatever had that much power over this art form that, pays you 50 cents and you do because you love. And then it felt abusive in a weird way. Yeah. And I thought, I don't want to be a part of that anymore, because then I would get out there and I would be mad at the audience if they were, not liking it or whatever, not receiving what we were trying to give. I don't know. It just became a thing that was not good for my health. I started getting headaches and all that. But I wonder now, I haven't been on stage in almost 20 years.
Wow.
I've directed a couple things, and I do readings. I kind of get my theater on that way. I do workshops. I do that kind of thing. Things that are very much process-oriented, development-oriented, or like a one-off reading or something. Mm-hmm. But to do a run of a play again at this stage in my career, I wonder what that would feel like. And I feel like I need to do that again. Mm-hmm. It just has to be the right piece, and I don't know what it is.
Yep.
I feel like it'll present itself, and I'll know, I've got to do this. Yeah. I would like to think it would be a new piece, but at the same time, it's been a long time since I've said some Shakespeare, and that was, the first love was the classical plays, maybe some Ibsen or something like that, if it's a great, interesting new translation or something, that kind of thing, that could get me excited.
What about Chekhov? How about
I'll pick Ibsen over Chekhov.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I just like the drama of Ibsen,
Okay.
I like the melodrama,
Yeah.
of Ibsen. You know, it's this high stakes.
Yeah.
You know, I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I love that Doll's House that Jessica Chastain did.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
bizarre and weird, and I
Yeah.
loved, experiencing that play in that way.
Yeah.
You know, that kind, something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
So I'm just, waiting to see, but I know that I'm not done there.
Yeah.
And that before, when I was doing theater, there was a lot of like, well, you're not a name. So, it was that
Yeah.
kind of thing. And
Yeah.
it really made me mad. So I was like, okay, I guess I better
Yeah.
go get myself a name, and then I
Yeah.
just didn't go back.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to go as somebody who, has done some film and TV.
Right.
That might.
And now,
Bring more people in.
now you're going to bring in the tourists
Maybe.
that love this show.
Yeah, maybe.
Who wouldn't want to put you in the thing to get them off the bus to go in?
Yeah.
And maybe they would be not these arrogant audience members,
It depends on the piece, right?
caring about the critics. They would just
I
be
know.
like
They'd be
loving
like,
you.
let's
let's
go
see what she does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
So I think something like that is still to come.
Yes. And I just want to say one thing, if the Kings are listening, I'm just going to talk to them right now. I want an episode. Now,
No, if you want it to be about Elsbeth, you need to talk to John Toland.
oh, that's
he's our
right.
showrunner.
Okay, wait. All right. So the Kings didn't. What did the Kings do with Elsbeth? They
created it, and
then
they
he
did the
took it.
pilot, and then they passed the baton to him. They produce, so they're involved, but it's John's show.
This is going to be hard then when I'm about to propose,
Okay.
because I want Elsbeth to have to investigate something supernatural with the cast of Evil.
Oh, you want a little crossover?
I want a crossover.
Okay, then you would have to talk to the Kings too.
So
Yeah.
Kings, are you listening? So let's, because if that's the only way I'm going to get those folks back, as a crossover on Elsbeth. I mean, that wrote itself.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. And then
Yeah,
you got
come on. You can see Elsbeth and Kristen
Yes.
doing some case together.
I mean, I think she'd be kind of charmingly annoyed by you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
And
loving
and Elsbeth
this.
would probably be just obsessed with her.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, just because
Yes.
she just would think she's so smart and pretty and
Yes.
amazing. Because Elsbeth is always seeing the good in
Yes.
everybody and is always looking up to. I love that about the character.
Yeah.
She's always looking up to other people.
Oh, yeah.
How can I aspire to be more like you? It's lovely, right? It's such a
Yes.
lovely place to be.
Yes.
Psychologically.
Yes.
But yeah, that could be fun.
Carrie Preston, please come back on my show.
Thanks for having me.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of The Gotham. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.